What if there's extra? This one? Yeah, this one's ours. No, this one is the one that you made that's not double-sided. So if we need to pass it out, we can. Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Yes, you did.
Well, she said to wait. Yeah. Which one? Oh my gosh.
You wish somebody would say you did a bad job. You know it's going to do it again. I know, they did.
Well, she, her part is. And I got it. Yeah, but she was talking about that. Everybody's opinion. Here. That's her other class. Jokes
So why don't you guys take that one if you
Where we were at.
Now we're going to record this one out live. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But so far. Well, if you had told me, we'll tweet it out. Get on. I'm covering my home. Nobody would have known that. Just show up. Hey, I'm a real person. I've been laying on that table.
I'm sorry. I didn't think I was supposed to be here. Okay, that's what I was like trying to tell you. I'm sorry.
Is that where Ray was? Is he down there tonight?
I thought we'd be here. I don't know what you
You know, when she told me that her delivery of that Friday night was supposed to be until Thursday night.
This is my number.
She needs to stand up. She told me that.
Don't get me in trouble because I heard you have been hired.
We don't need to go over there.
Come on.
No, you guys have to drive separately.
Let everybody else know.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'll send you an update on the other side. No, like one parent doesn't accept phone calls. Well, anyway, there's one more I'm talking about. One of them I'd already called twice. I want to say. But I went through all that stuff.
That guy was here.
So I need to know a signal. If you need me, turn it over, turn it over, not lying, just.
Pretty sure that.
We, after school, like, we used to have, like, we need someone else. Well, and the fact that, you know,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you run out of just it's a whole thing based on this. I'll say that this one. I don't know that I really do.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. All right. First up, we have the consent agenda, which is minutes, expenditures, substitute list, and science program review. Be new business. Does anybody need to pull anything out of the consent agenda and discuss it?
Put everything good. I looked at the science review. You know, there was some dips, but rebounds in 2015. I thought that overall it was a good review.
Positive things.
No science honors level biology 1 course. That's something we're going to think about. Doesn't that look good?
Is that a motion to approve this?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mark.
Second.
Grant, second. So motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Education spotlight.
Okay, we have a group here from PATE, talk to you about the Reading Recovery Program, and I'm going to have Dr. King introduce those young ladies for us.
If you remember, 3 years ago, I came and talked to you about the Reading Recovery Program and gave you little baseball cards for all of the kiddos that were in it. This is a program that has continued, and I thought it would be better if the teachers who are Reading Recovery trained actually came and talked to you guys tonight. So this is Terry Hunter, Martha Horst, and Mindy Nash. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
Spread out here a little bit.
Okay.
Ms. Horst is going to pass out a handout for all of you guys to be able to look at, to reference as we go through our slideshow.
I'm Terry Hunter, hound dog for 13 years, teacher of future hound dogs for now my 19th year. This is my 5th year as a trained reading recovery teacher.
My name is Mindy Nash. I'm a special education teacher at PATE. This is my 4th year being trained through the Reading Recovery Program.
And my name is Martha Horst. This is my 3rd year at PATE, and I'm half-time ESL teacher as well.
And Martha's 2 years reading recovery.
3
years.
This is our recovery. So just a general overview for what Reading Recovery is. It's a program that was started to accelerate literacy learning for the lowest 20% of students. That number is actually, the 20% number has changed a little bit based on the population. So if you think about the population in Aurora, you think about our low economic status students, our free and reduced lunch students, that actually the goal would be to serve closer to 30%. But the original goal is 20%. It's a program that's been studied in lots of different ways by lots of different companies, but the Department of Education's What Works Clearinghouse did a study again in 2014 that found that Reading Recovery had a significant impact on reading achievement for those first graders, and also impacts on subtests in reading achievement and reading comprehension.
There are, reading recovery is like a pre-referral intervention and gives us a period of time to work in a one-on-one setting with students who still need that extra support outside of the regular education classroom. Whenever we are working with students, at the end, we work for 20 weeks on a one-on-one basis, and at the end of that 20 weeks, there are two possible outcomes. The first outcome is that student discontinues successfully the program, and the goal is for them to be reading at that point, after the 20 weeks, at text level 12, which is within the average range for the first grade period. The other alternative outcome is for students to be recommended action that maybe they need to look into additional intervention services, possibly through the student intervention team, because that is a very intense one-on-one program for 20 weeks, and if the student is still not making progress after that 20 weeks, that shows that that student possibly, there's maybe other alternative reasons why they're not being able to make success.
And it's a really great opportunity for us to get to know those students. If you think about, most of even our special education students aren't served in a one-on-one setting like that. They're in small groups of 3, 5, or more. So the information you can gain, and you know that if you've read with your own kids sitting right next to them and watching them write and read, and it's just you two right there together, there's information to be gained that you can't gain in a different setting from that.
And it's an individualized program, so our students that are in the classroom being instructed in a group, maybe with 3 or 4 students, it's not as individualized as working one-on-one, because in that group there are a range of needs, where this, we're meeting the student at their level, where they're at, and trying to build from that foundation instead of trying to meet the needs of 3 or 4 students, a group at the same time.
All 3 of us were trained through I3 grant money, which was a great opportunity. It paid for our training. It also paid for materials. We all trained in Nixa, Missouri with Dr. Cindy Owens. She's still our teacher leader. What that means is that she's our person for professional development. We have on-site observations where she comes to see us. We have off-site sessions in Nixa with behind-the-glass lessons. Dr. Shaw and Mr. Baker were able to attend one this year. And there's reading recovery teachers from other districts that attend that session also. I think one of the biggest things that's maybe misunderstood too is that the 3 of us getting trained does not affect just the 3 of us. The fact that everything that I learn at a professional development session comes back to PATE, and then I get that information out to the rest of the teachers in all the other grade levels. The way that I work with groups now in my small groups is completely different because of this training. The way that our classroom teachers do their response intervention RTI time is a result of that training. MRI is based on this training. So everything that we do, it's not just about me and the 4 kids I serve right now in reading recovery, or Martha's, or who Mindy sees. It impacts a lot more kids than that.
So because we each have other jobs to do at the school as well, Ms. Hunter's the only full-time reading recovery teacher. Like I said, I'm half-time ESL, so I do small groups with my ESL kids in the afternoon and only have the chance to do 4 reading recovery kids in the morning. And Mrs. Nash works with her special ed students. So a district our size, like it says, should have 3 full-time reading recovery teachers working with 4 students in the morning and then our groups in the afternoon, which we do not do. In order to be fully implemented, we would need 4 reading recovery, or 3 reading recovery teachers to serve everybody. And here's some of the numbers that we would be looking at. So a fully implemented school, we would serve 32 students, as opposed to the 16 to 20 that we see between us throughout the year.
And that's 32 students that we're seeing on a one-on-one basis.
Right.
That doesn't take into consideration the intervention groups that a full-time reading recovery teacher is supposed to be able to work with. And, Ms. Hunter and I were trying to crunch the numbers earlier. And, on average, if you see 4 students in a group and you do 4 groups in the afternoon, that's an additional 20 students for the first half of the year and 20 students for the last half of the year. So on top of the students that are being seen individually, that's another, 40 students that are getting, small group reading intervention per full-time reading recovery teacher. So, that's,
Potentially.
yes, as opposed to, just a small amount of students. And, since I'm not since I'm a special education teacher, I only work with students that are in the special education realm and not students that are outside of that. So it limits that number even more.
All right, so you're probably tired of hearing us talk, so we'll listen to this cute guy right here.
Hey everybody, my name's Cooper.
Cooper, how do you feel about how your reading and writing have gotten better this year?
Really good. Last time I couldn't spell a lot of words, now I can.
Cool. What does Mom and Dad think about your reading and writing?
Awesome.
Are they proud of you?
Yeah.
So Cooper got to go for a behind the glass lesson. His mom was able to attend. That doesn't always happen. Actually, that rarely happens with our population, that the parents can drive them there. Usually Dr. King gets that honor. But Cooper's mom was actually able to go. So I included that text that she sent after the lesson, and I was trying to talk to her on the way out of the lesson and say, okay, like, he's not going to be counted absent from school, and don't forget the Christmas program. And she's like, okay, you know, she was just so proud of her kid. And there's, I think that's a very powerful thing. I was talking to Mindy about, regardless of if Cooper got to that 12 at 20 weeks, even if he just got to the level 10 in 20 weeks, it's a huge deal. Right. And it's way more than what he could do before, and it's changed his classroom performance, and it's changed his life. It's changed his school life. So it's not always just about the number they're on. Here's a look at Cooper progress. So letter ID is identifying letters, obviously. Word reading is, this is all part of a test that we give called the observation survey. It's a test we give our kids at the beginning, and we give them at the end of their service, and we give it, if they're first round students, we give it to them again in the spring. They get it 3 times a year. So word reading is on a list of 20. Writing vocabulary is how many known words they can write. Hearing sounds and words for Cooper is his biggest improvement. His text level went from a 1 to a 12. Hearing sounds and words is giving it like a dictated sentence, and he has to try to write down what you said. So, and I'll show you his example. At the beginning of the year, you can see that. The sentence was, the bus is coming, it will stop here to let me get on. Okay? And then this is his latest test. I can see the red boat that we are going to have a ride in. Is this perfect? No. Is it a heck of a lot better than this one? Yeah. Do you think that when he takes a test with Miss Ray that she can read what he's trying to say now? Do you think that he can have an idea and put it on paper and feel good about that? Absolutely.
And he's made a year's worth of gain in the 20 weeks. Yeah, less than 20 weeks.
Yeah.
That was my student, Millie. She grew a lot. She came in knowing a little bit, but she's made a lot of growth. She actually went to a level 14. And in Reader Recovery, we take everything else into consideration, but our main goal is to get them to read on grade level. So the word reading went up. She didn't know anything. The writing vocabulary, the hearing sounds as word, again, is the dictated sentence. She knew she could hear a lot of sounds in the way she was trying to write. And like I said, she went from a 2 to a 14, and the expected outcome was 12, so she went beyond that.
Just to give you an idea of those text levels, like Cooper, when he entered at a text level 1, or a text level 1 is like a repeated text, right? So every page is going to be, I am a rabbit, and it's going to have a kid dressed up as a rabbit, and I am a dog, and there's a picture of a dog, and it's that kind of predictable text. It's a pattern, and it's about being able to hold that pattern and check your picture. Sometimes it doesn't even have 4 words. Sometimes it's mom is swimming, mom is dancing. And then to move to the text level 12, just visually looking at the difference between those 2 levels that our kids go from, just the size of the print alone, right, has changed so much. And the amount of words on the page, and the size of the words that are there, and the amount of support they get from a picture. It's just, some of you haven't had kids in first grade in a while, so you may not remember the level that they change, back in kindergarten reading level 1, what they should be able to do, and then what they need to do when they leave this first round of first grade. There's one more of our kids.
This is Trevin. Trevin came in at the beginning of the school year, knowing most of his letters. He could read 7 words out of our word list. He was able to read all 20 of the words on that word list at the end of the year. His writing vocabulary increased. He was able to get all of the words, the sounds and the words from our dictated sentence. And the most significant thing for Trevin is he went from a text level 0, he couldn't even read, mom is reading, mom is swimming, to he is reading a level 16 at the end of our 20 weeks. And I was sharing with Miss Hunter, Trevin's mom has given us permission to share this information, but she works at our school, and I had the opportunity to be able to go to his birthday party. And so to be able to watch him in front of his family read his birthday cards was one of the most meaningful things I think I could ever see. So that's something that, just like a culmination of everything that I feel like we've worked hard for and to be able to do for him. So that was a really meaningful story to be able to share.
So we also asked some of our first grade teachers that have had kids in reading recovery or in the past or this year to give their opinion about it, because obviously, we're pretty excited about it because when we've passed the pipe and drank the Kool-Aid, so we're hooked in. So we're going to be all cheering about it. So you might think that, so to get an outside perspective maybe from some of our classroom teachers. Is that not appropriate? Is that on film?
Sorry.
Okay. I said 19 years, right? Does that give me leeway? We're obviously, I know we're taking a long time, but we're obviously passionate about this too. You guys, anytime anybody wants to come watch us do it, any day of the week, you can come watch us. We'll be more than happy to let you come watch. But a couple of the great comments I think in here from Miss Tilton. It talks about coming to the rescue of these kids and working with them and changing things for them at the right times. And Ms. Smith talks about a student we worked with last year, and actually was a collaboration between all of us. Ms. Fisher worked with the student, and Ms. Horst worked with the student and got her ready, because she came into first grade at our school with a level of a preschooler. So she wasn't even really ready for reading recovery, but we all worked together, and then once we got her in, she was able to make 1 3/4 of a year's growth in 9 months' time. So that last part is just, I think, great. We changed the path for somebody who very easily could have been labeled as a future dropout, and seeing her succeed was our priority. And we met her need at just the right time. And you guys, as well as I do, we're either going to pay for it when they're in first grade, or we're going to pay for it later on. And Ms. Ray has had students this year. She talks about how they're able to accelerate at their own personal level, but they're also able to come back to the classroom and apply what they've been learning. Ms. Thomason, our students have gained confidence and become more successful.
She hopes that we continue to further implement reading recovery within our building.
All right, so we're almost done, I promise you, in case you're getting really bored. Let's take a look at this little reader.
I am reading a book.
So that's a very quick, I'm going to stop it. That's a quick example. So she says, this little girl, when she would come first to read with me, is a child that's completely helpless when it comes to something difficult, that automatically would have looked at me for help, that kind of, every time there's something hard, would look up, wouldn't attempt it. And so the fact that she read right there, she made a mistake and she fixed the mistake and kept going, and she never once looked at me. That's an example of a victory, a small victory that's not necessarily a number, but it's a big change in the type of reader she's becoming and how independent she's becoming.
Right.
In her confidence, yeah.
Jasper yawned and went to sleep. Tomorrow he would catch the mouse.
How did you know it was catch? What did you see?
It's at the end.
Well, look, I'm pointing at what you're supposed to be able to see.
Broken down and tired of living life on the merry-go-round. When you can't find a fighter, well, I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Ooh, mountain, we gon' walk it out. And ooh, mountain.
case you can't tell, we really dig reading recovery, and we really like working with those kids you just saw. I feel like I want to be like Oprah when I see those pictures, like, you're going to learn to read, and you're going to learn to read, and you're going to learn to read, and they just get so excited. So please let us know if you ever have any questions. We just want people to be more aware of the work that we do, and that it is effective, and that we're proud of it, and we think it's...
It is, and you know, our goal is hopefully whenever we walk out of here that you guys, you know, if reading recovery ever comes up as an issue or, you know, something for you to discuss, that you stop and think for a minute, that you look a little bit beyond the numbers that you see on a piece of paper and take it back to these kids. And like Ms. Hunter said, even though you have a kid that, you know, maybe they didn't reach that goal of a text level 12, they only got a 10, but they were a non-reader 20 weeks ago, and now they're reading independently. So those are things that for us, and, you know, obviously we're passionate about, you know, like just seeing those kids' faces up there. I've watched that video already, and I can't help but fight back the tears because, you know, just knowing that those kids are going to be able to go back into their classroom without the support of somebody and be successful is huge, huge, huge for us. And hopefully it's huge for you. And whenever you think about, like I said later, if it ever comes up, that you stop. And like I said, think a little bit past those numbers.
Thanks.
I just want to say something, because I had the privilege of going and watching this done with Dr. King and Dr. Shaw, and what doesn't show on the video is how good of teachers they are. They're excellent.
Yes.
I mean, I had to go to reading recovery when I was in like 3rd grade, and I don't remember who it was, but I guarantee you if I had one of these two, you know, right now I'd remember it. You know, it was just amazing watching them, you know, do that and the things that they do. You guys do a great job.
They are absolutely fabulous established teachers. Every time they move us, every time I go watch them do what they do with kids. So I thank them for all they do.
Yeah, we thank you guys too. Very, very valuable assets.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you do.
Have you gone, Bull?
Kool-Aid pie.
I meant Sprite. I meant Sprite.
Sprite all day long. Come on over.
There's not a new business item on the agenda. I would move to amend the agenda and under new business and approve superintendent's contract.
Okay. In the agenda, the motion and second. All in favor? Mark. Sorry. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We'll do old business, then new business, correct? Yes. Okay. Old business is setting of the 2016-17 calendar.
Okay, last month, the calendar was tabled, and so after seeking input from the board, seeking input from teachers that were at the AEA meeting, and also discussing with the administrators, we have a different calendar presented to you. Just some highlights of some things on here. Start date on the calendar is August 17th. End date would be May 19th. There's 174 days in the calendar, as there is for this year, 177 teacher days, as is this year. Also consistent with current calendar, the week at Thanksgiving, the 2 weeks at Christmas. So the main concerns that I got from the previous calendar was the early start date, which moved back. The comments that I received when meeting with AEA was that Wednesday was something that they would like to see versus Thursday. That way it gives 2.5 days with the kids in the first week rather than just the day and a half. And so in order to make that accommodation, that would have put the last day of school on a Monday, which is not something that I want to have in a calendar, even though snow days probably would change that. So in order to move that to where it wasn't a Monday, the Monday after New Year's that was on this year's calendar was removed. So it still is the 2 full weeks of Christmas, but that then allowed the last day of school to end on Friday. So 4-day weekends consistent with what they've been in February, March, and April. And then you see that the scheduled snow makeup would first be to the end of the school year, first 4 on the end of the school year, and then take away, if it is relevant, January 16th, and then February 20th and March 27th. So, any questions?
Does anybody in our audience tonight have a comment or a question on the calendar tonight?
Will we approve the calendars presented?
Second.
Mark and Grant, got a motion second to approve the calendar. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now, new business. Basically, new business is approving Dr. Shaw contract with, you want to make a motion?
Sure. So the motion would read, essentially what we did and what we've done with other administrators is to go in after the first year and do a 2-year extension, which basically then gives for a 3-year contract. And we also looked at the fact that in our conference, our superintendent was one of the lowest ranking on the pay scale. So I would move that we extend Dr. Shaw's contract by 2 years with a 6% pay increase.
Second.
Okay, Mark got it. Mark got it. Mark second.
I've been talking too much.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Let's go. Thank you, Jeremy. And Mark. All right, well, we're already for reports. Wow. Let's not skip some. First up is AEA. Additions or questions? On the board? Anybody? No? Okay. Sodexo, food service?
Nothing bad.
Nothing bad. Sodexo Lance?
Nothing bad.
Nothing? All right. Building principals, we'll start at the bottom, or not the bottom, let me rephrase that. We'll start at the lower grades.
Last time it was the oldest.
Dr. King, anything?
Nothing to add.
Nothing?
You've got a new format on your report, though.
Yeah, did you like my new format?
Yeah.
Okay.
Takes up 2 pages, but yeah. It's
Well,
got
you have the
pictures on
graphics
it. You
now.
know, I learn well with pictures that have learn spelled out in blocks.
That's right. That's right. Robertson Elementary, Mr. Mace.
Nothing to add.
Intermediate, Mr. Bax.
Nothing to add.
Junior high, Dr. Murphy Pope.
I'm really proud of the teachers that wrote the grants that were recognized on Saturday night.
I want to brag a little bit. Austin Lawrence took home the gold with $2,000. Curtis Bishop wrote for archery, and it was $1,000. Ginger Lackey wrote for anatomy models, and it was $750. And then Laura Lee Vaught for Bright Futures.
Pigeon paper project, what, $500?
So it was exciting.
A lot of good money given. I was glad that the teachers applied, the number of teachers applied for the grant.
Yeah, sounds like it. Good. Mr. Colton?
Yeah, I didn't get in my report. I was waiting for the academic meet last weekend. It was our conference meet. They started off 2-0 and they finished 2-5. So they finished 6th in the conference, but points wise they finished 3rd, so that they were just lucky to draw 1 to 2 questions on those losses. The main thing I want to bring to your attention is William Bloss. His accomplishment was 4 years of Big 8 conference academic team, all conference. So we're going to acknowledge him during academics a little bit. That's a pretty big thing. All 4 years he was honorable or whole academic team. So
Okay. Mr. Raper? He's not here, is he? He's at the game. Any questions on him? Transportation Director, Ms. Nash?
If you see the drivers, I would just say thank them for keeping us out of the media last Tuesday night when the ice hit. So I know lots of schools and buses and stuff did not do so well. So anyway, I was just really proud of our drivers for getting our kids home safe and no troubles.
Yeah, I don't know for sure who drives right out there by me, but I was watching her and she was very cautious.
Yes.
Which you need to be on that road.
Right, right.
Any highway at 174.
Anywhere on that. Any highway. Where am I at? Special ed, Dr. Lakin?
Nothing to add.
Nothing to add. Dr. Reeves?
We received an email, Dr. Shine from Lisa Phillips, and she had, it was a thank you email regarding Karen Bader. If it's all right, I'd just like to read it verbatim because it was a nice thank you from her. It says, Dr. Shaw, Dr. Reese, I would like to share my sincere thanks for allowing Karen Bader to be absent from school in order to testify in Jefferson City on behalf of Missouri school counselors. On a very quick note, notice, Karen wrote a phenomenal school counseling testimony, drove to Jeff City, and testified late into the evening, and then drove back home. Karen, along with the MSCA's interim director, MSCA's lobbyist, and 2 other school counselors shared accurate depiction of the many tasks performed by school counselors each and every day. I look forward to celebrating the good things that will come out of Karen's dedication to the profession and her testimony. On behalf of the Missouri School Counselors Association, thank you for the support of the school counselors of your school district and for allowing Karen to be an active advocate for school counselors across our great state. What great timing as we celebrate School Counseling Week. And if you recall, they won the Geisper's award earlier, so that's a good thing, and I appreciate Lisa Phillips sending that just as a thank you. It's a good opportunity anytime you can testify and let people know that don't know exactly what your job duties are, so that's a win.
Yeah. All right. You got anything?
I have something, yes, something I'd like to read as well.
Okay.
Missourians benefit every day from the dedicated energies and countless hours devoted by a group of more than 3,600 men and women in every community across the state. These public servants are elected by local constituents and do not receive compensation for their tireless efforts. These men and women are the local school board members of Missouri. Last week, communities across the state honored the dedicated service of local school boards of education during School Board Recognition Week as proclaimed by Governor Jay Nixon. The goal was to build awareness and understanding of the important function an elected Board of Education plays in communities and schools. So at this time, you see in front of you, you have your certificates that I know those have been on the board receive these every year about this time, but I just wanted to publicly say thank you for all that you guys do. I know it's tireless. I know that there's a lot of hours and a lot of griping and complaining that goes in one year a lot of times. And so if those in attendance would also just join me in showing appreciation for the group we have here that do so much for our kids. So. And I didn't want to call a special meeting last week just to recognize you, so we're 2 days late. So.
Well, thank you. We
Appreciate all you guys do.
We appreciate it. You guys do too.
That's all I got.
Okay. Board members have anything?
I have a comment.
Okay.
I met with Dr. Pope and Coach Weldy last week. She's looking at trying to write a grant for the weight room at the junior high. What I saw up there is, I know she's writing a grant, but the district needs to look at correcting the problems up there in a fast way. There's liability. The weights are outdated. Somebody's going to get hurt. There's just a lot of things that are broke, tore up. And when we left, Craig had, and this is probably by 3:30 or 4 o'clock, he had 50-some kids down there in the gym and active. I mean, girls, boys, both, and working them out. And it's a shame that we have, it's actually an embarrassment what we have up in that weight room. Because you have PE and then you have your junior high sports. And we really need to look at doing something like that. So, anyway.
Okay.
Our attendance numbers seem to be doing okay. I mean, is it better than last year's numbers? I'm trying to think back as I look at the numbers that y'all put down at the bottom, and it seems like we're hitting a higher percentage of the 90%. So,
My kids that are coming on a regular basis. The population is so much smaller for me this year than last year, but the kids that are chronic, I mean, I have some kids in the 70% range, but I mean, that's bigger. But yes, I would say our building it's better.
it's even, I mean, even though the high school struggles, even your numbers
So we're about 86 or 87, which is higher. That's
Yeah.
the highest we've ever been.
is far up. And I want to congratulate y'all, because I know y'all do a lot of constant work on your attendance, and I appreciate that.
Also, utilizing homebound more too, and that helps, because it not only helps the kid, the student, but it also helps the attendance. So, and I appreciate the efforts of theirs, because that's a chore to do.
After attending the chamber banquet Saturday night, I just want to piggyback a little bit on what Dr. Pope said. You look around that room, and we had 4 school board members there. We had our superintendent, assistant superintendent, a few other administrators, several teachers there. Some of those teachers received grants, and that money will be well spent in the school system. And I think it's just really, really nice to see the school and the community engaged together and sharing. And I think probably the mood in this community is better than it's been in a long, long time. And I think a lot of the successes that all of you have contributed to making our schools better are really a big part of that. So thank you, and it was great. And Dr. Reedus has the permanent job as MC of the banquet.
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate it.
All right. Anything else? Thank you. All right. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming. Drive safe.
Yeah, I know. Because we're aw,
Well,
He's got a list for us.
Maybe he was the absolute best Leave you? Why? But see, I didn't see that second closed session on there, I'm sorry. Was that on the agenda? Second closed session?
I don't know, he said it was.
Did we post it? Did we post it? I didn't see it on the.